Welcome to the August 17th, 2021 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in Nintendo's life. I am your host, Viz the Bold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we had a lot going on here, and there's actually quite a bit of, good news for once. I don't think there's any bad thing in here. There's, some meh interesting stuff, but, nothing bad. So that's, one thing at the very end. Okay, I'll give you one thing. But everything else is pretty damn solid this week, Lotus. There's some pretty cool stuff going on.
Sounds good to me.
All right, well, let's hit it off the top because, of course, whenever Nintendo has a, one of their announcement videos, either, their Indie World or their Nintendo Direct, it's always a big deal, and for good reason. It is the place where indie games get their best shine during that. They get more exposure doing that than probably any other thing, even if they're on other platforms. That Indie World showcase is, a really good platform for them to get some attention. And it shows. They always put really quality stuff, even if it's not something that resonates with me. I can always be I can understand why somebody would want that, or that looks good for its its genre, that kind of thing. But Nintendo had basically a surprise Indie World showcase. I think they announced it 2 days before it happened, which they tend to do, but. Let's hit it off the top. I mean, this is probably the biggest game on there. But Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which we had already heard of.
Yeah, this is something that I'd seen on Steam for a while as in development, but there was no other information about where it was in development. Just this is a thing that's getting made, and it's been like that for several months to maybe a year. I don't know if it's maybe been a full year, but it's been a while.
Hideki Naganuma, who was, who's doing the soundtrack, who also did the soundtrack of Jet Set Radio, and Jet Set Radio Future, he also, came out with it once he was, once they, locked him down, which is really cool, but, everybody was this looks like a cool indie take on, Jet Set Radio Future. They showed a straight-up gameplay from it, and it is fucking Jet Set Radio Future. It is not even a clone. It's just straight up it.
It's just it just makes me think of Axiom Verge. You're not going to make another game? Fine, I will.
It's straight up theft, but in the best way possible. I mean, it's theft of a franchise that Sega has completely abandoned. They don't even. It's been even a while since they re-released the first game, and they never re-released the second game, which I think is better.
Yeah, the second game is exclusively. I mean, it's backwards compatible, but it's exclusively.
It's only backwards compatible with the 360, though. It's not backwards compatible with the Xbox One. I was going to say
it was released exclusively for the original Xbox, so it's been quite some time.
And it wasn't even done well. The emulation for that one in particular is pretty bad. I would even suggest only playing it on an OG Xbox, and who the hell wants to do that this day and age? So, but yeah, I am really looking forward to this. I mean, even the storyline is straight up the same. It's just go around the city and spray paint things, and then spray paint the things that want to kill you.
I was gonna say, watch out for the cops who are coming after you.
Yeah, the cops.
To stop the. It's not even because with a game like that, you're the bad guys, you're running around spreading graffiti, but it's really more you're being framed as the good guys because these generic, intentionally uniform-looking enemies that work for the government are trying to suppress, color and expression.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's meant to be a rebellion against, a Big Brother-esque state.
Yeah.
According
to the letter of the law, you're the villains, but that's not how it's framed at all, because you're doing it for the right reasons.
You're the hero. Yeah. You're the hero in this, but but you are certainly a rebel. So but
you know what? I have not seen the trailer for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Are you still on rollerblades? Because that was very of its time.
So you are going around with like grind shoes. That is like the only change.
Oh, so like Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, but
Are they so?
there are characters that do have rollerblades.
Okay. I mean, well, you gotta bring it back. I just
not
said
you.
it's of its time, but like, that's what these guys are known for.
Yeah, I think this looks like the gameplay wise, it looks like a really great combination of the first and second game. So like,
Okay.
it looks kind of like you do your tagging like in the first game, like with the you know,
Flick the stick in
controller
the correct
motions.
ways or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like the only thing that people didn't like about the second game was that like all you had to do was hit the shoulder button in order to tag, and people actually really liked doing the the quarter circles and stuff like that.
This is a weird comparison to make, even though it makes sense. But
Yeah.
Silent Hill Shattered Memories, that game
Yeah.
everyone's played, because it was designed for the Wii, where you get monsters jumping on you from different directions, and you have to waggle the Wiimote, like shake it to the left to get the monster on your left side off of you and stuff like that. And motion controls are kind of a pain in the ass, but it felt right, even though it was way easier to execute with the face buttons. You're losing part of the original intent.
Immersion, yeah, the immersion of it. I mean, like it's like with No More Heroes. If you're not playing that with motion controls, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and the motion controls themselves don't even care for that one. You just kind of flail a little bit, and you feel like you did something. Like with face buttons only,
you get a little like rush when you do it.
That's
you know,
the thing.
Like,
Like I said, you feel like you did something. With the face buttons, it's not the same, even though the motion controls didn't really matter in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, like, I am all about it. But I knew it was gonna be close, but I didn't know it was gonna be straight up theft. Like it is, like it is like Bloodstained level, like theft. I mean, to some extent, you're like, okay, well, John Cougar Mellencamp can't like, ape himself, so like he can't, what is it, copy his own style. Like
Yeah.
he got brought to for plagiarism, right? He got brought into court for plagiarism from his former his former label. That they were like, your new song sounds a lot like your old song, and he's just like, it's my style, what the fuck do you want from me?
Yeah, well, I'm reminded of two similar examples. One of them a bit darker, because it was Nancy Cartwright using her Bart Simpson voice to try to get people to like join fucking Scientology. And on one hand, she got in trouble for like, I think it was something to do with the coercion or whatever, but they were also trying to get her on her voice, and she's like, it's my voice. And the other example was when people were saying Mighty Number 9 looks a little too similar to Mega Man. And
It's
KG
like, that's my art
was
style.
like, you're saying my art looks like my art. Like, yeah, it does.
People are like, oh.
Yeah, like, what do you want me to do? Just be a different artist?
It's like, you
Why
got
even
a
have me
point.
then?
Yeah, exactly. So, but like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is made with one person in common, and it's the music.
Yeah, the composer.
So
which is funny,
yeah.
because it's not like the Bloodstained example, Iga makes what Iga makes, but
Yeah.
this guy, like, we do not have the art designer ripping off his own work. This is someone else who, like, is actually copying to a T the original work, to the point where, like, I didn't realize at first that it was somebody else. I thought it was another Bloodstained, where like, I'll make my own, not Jet Set Radio, but it's just somebody else who managed to get the composer.
If you saw Bomb Rush Cyberpunk without knowing that it was like an indie resurrection kind of thing, you would just swear that it was a sequel.
Well, that was it. Like, I haven't seen the trailer, but I did see screenshots back when it was on Steam. Like, oh, it's coming soon. Like, I just thought it was another Jet Set made by a wink
like
from the devs. Yeah, it's not Jet Set, but it is. Haha. Like, I didn't realize it was just somebody else emulating the style that well.
But like I said, I am more than okay with it. But it's like TXK. Do you remember that?
That I might be confusing it with THX, so maybe not. Go ahead.
Okay, TXK was made by Jeff Mintner, the maker of Tempest 2000.
Oh, okay.
And he straight up made a new Tempest game and called it TXK.
Okay.
And it is indistinguishable from Tempest. Like indistinguishable.
Yeah.
Like like even the little character that you are, like the little geometric shape thing.
Sure.
It is exactly the same thing.
I mean, it's either that or buy a fucking new one, and nobody's doing that.
And TXK also implies like it's X1000.
Yeah.
Also, like Tempest X1000.
What does the T stand for? Yeah.
So like it is even named that way, and he straight up got sued over it. And
I was gonna say that like even like there's too close for comfort, but that's like literally too close for comfort.
So that version of the game ended up like only coming out on Vita when it was going to be a multi-platform game. And what ended up happening was they basically settled with him, saying that, hey, you have to slightly modify it and release it as Tempest 4000. And he was like, okay, I'll do that.
That's what that was. I was going to say, like, I wonder if this is... I mean, now we already know how it turned out, but I was going to say, I wonder if this is going to turn out to be like a Gianna's sister thing, where, like, 10 years later, they're like, remember this? Hey...
It was more like, Atari was like, like, this is a good game. We might as well just, like,
Sure.
But I'm sure he got, like, ripped off for it, because, like, he was on the, he was definitely not in the negotiation.
He flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he was not the power player in the negotiation there. Because it was basically like, hey, we sue you into oblivion, or you can kind of reap your benefits, and we own it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure he would have rather have done it on his own accord. But, so that game technically only came out on Vita, but it's Tempest 4000 as well.
Yeah, if you want to buy Tempest 4000, I remember seeing that on store shelves or PS4.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good game too. It's basically the same.
When are they going to bring? When are they going to port Tempest 3000?
Tempest 3000 is a
that was the thing I joked about earlier. I said nobody's buying a fucking Nuon because that's what that was.
Yeah, Nuon game. Yeah.
So when are they going to port that to a system that like exists?
I
saw a Nuon once at MagFest with Tempest 3000 on it, but I think it wasn't working, and it was like that was it. That was my one chance.
I mean, Tempest would be the only reason to play that. I mean, there's apparently a decent version of Tetris.
I remember seeing a video review of the Nuon in general, and there's these games that nobody heard of and you don't care about. Oh, but there's an actual sequel to Tempest 2000, and you know what? It's not bad. I'm like, what? It's so weird.
Jeff Minner designed the visualizer for the music portion of the Nuon. So like when you put in a CD, there's like an animation that happens based off of what's happening in the music.
Oh, that's cool. It's like a Vib Ribbon.
Well, he actually did that for a few different systems. He did it for the Jaguar CD originally, which makes sense. And then he did it for the Nuon, and then he did it for the 360.
Okay, I was gonna say before you said 360, I'm like, man, he really knows how to pick them.
No. He did it for the 360, and then he ended up making Space Giraffe, which is again another Tempest-like game.
Yeah.
He does other work other than just games. He does visual kind of stuff going on. But anyway, we should move on to the next item, which we already kind of spoiled. But Axiom Verge 2 got its official first unvailing. I think everybody knew it was coming, but we had never actually seen it. Straight up trailer for Axiom Verge 2, and it looks really, really good, and it has a much different vibe, in terms of, the first game has a very Geiger, body horror aesthetic to it.
And that's the aesthetic I enjoy. Even though I haven't actually played the game, I've seen you play a bunch of it, and, I can get into that visual style.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I always get stuck in this game every time I try it. But that's besides the point. But yeah, this one looks really good though, and it does have that stuff, but it's not the central focus.
Yeah, what I had heard, I saw a Twitter post about Axiom Verge 2, and it said, like, it simultaneously does not look or feel like Axiom Verge, but when you play it, you could totally see how it's an Axiom Verge game, and, like, it'll make sense if you try it.
Yeah, it's much brighter. It has more pastel look to it, and the backgrounds have more of a focus on, well, the first game is very much like Metroid, so it's very cave-like, right? It's very underground. Whereas the second game looks like, you're looking over treetops. It has many more like outdoor environments.
Sure.
So that's the immediate striking thing, and therefore the backgrounds are much more detailed. You could tell he put in like a lot of budget, like a lot of his time into making the environments look really cool. Whereas opposed to Axiom Verge was very stark. Like a lot of it's like black background, just kind of like Metroid. But
yeah, that whole game, Metroid. I mean, like the original Metroid, where you're like, man, I do not want to be here.
Yeah, seriously. But what was also cool is Limited Run Games immediately after the announcement on by Nintendo did tweet that they are doing a Switch version of the original or the second game on its own, but also a combo pack.
You think they're going to release the second one on the Wii U?
I don't think so, but
okay.
it they might even be into that if they could.
No, but I mean, like, I get it, but nobody's fucking doing that. I mean, they would though. Like they've released stuff for like, they released a TurboGrafx game,
Vita
or are going to, for the 3 people on planet Earth who actually want to pick that up. They're releasing now. Even.
I'm going to. I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah, I know, but like, who gives a shit unless you have a TurboGrafx? And like, I think even now, I don't know if they sold out yet, but they're selling like collector's editions of like the original '90s big box PC things of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Yeah, and that was like that was a big surprise. I don't think they had announced it before they did that. Which was really surprising, and I wanted to go buy one, but it's $100, and I was like, no way.
It's stupidly expensive. The funny thing is, I actually have a copy of the game from, like, probably from the same place they got it. It's just that I bought it, like, 10 years ago, so it wasn't as expensive yet.
I guess my big problem with it was that I figured they might include the original novella, and they didn't. It was like, that's a big missed opportunity.
No, because, like, they I think they picked it up from like Ellison's estate or something, or like somewhere around there. So like that's what they have.
Okay.
Although I will say what's kind of cute, and this doesn't come with it, but the strategy guide has like 2 strategy guides in it. One of them is just go to location, click this item, and it's like extremely efficient. The whole game guide is like a few pages long, but the other version of it is told as a story, which I always appreciate when stuff like that happens, and it's pretty rare that it does. I've only seen it a few times, like Baldur's Gate 1, the King's Quest Compendium, but like it's rare.
Yeah, so as of right... Oh, also there's an interesting aspect of this release, too. They released it in not only Windows, but also Mac flavor. Mac OS, which I don't think there's been a physical Mac OS game in a long while.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, especially considering, like, I don't think there's any way you could get it into a Mac. Like, I'm just... like, optical drives are almost... non-existent. Oh, it's a USB drive. Okay.
Yeah, they do have a USB, like, I forgot what it looked like, the AM monolith or something.
Yeah, well, in this one it's going to say hate.
Yeah, so basically the AM monolith. There was one thing I was curious about that I never got a proper answer for, but I wonder if it would be, like, legal to own in Germany.
Yeah, I think it will be these days, but who knows?
I don't know. I think their standards have relaxed since before, but I'm curious.
It does say language support German, so you can technically order it and play it. I don't know whether owning it is a thing, but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually curious about that.
yeah, and that's because of Nazi symbolism
Yes.
in the game. So
yeah, like in the original official German release of that game, that character's whole like story was cut, which made the good ending of the game utterly unattainable.
yeah, let's also be frank and say that like that character is not considered a good guy or anything. Like he's punished for being a Nazi. So
Yeah, well, I mean, all 5 characters have their flaws, although
that's
some of them are
that's
pretty
more
fucking
than just
petty
a flaw.
compared to him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like
more
Ted's
than
kind of a vain jerk. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's comparable.
Yeah, I mean there's varying degrees. Like this isn't a binary thing.
Yeah.
But everybody has their flaws, but being a fucking Nazi is
Yeah, like literally like a Nazi from like the 40s.
I can't think of
Yeah.
too many things like you could be that are worse than that.
What I think is weird, by the way, is that like they don't show any actual swastikas in the game. There's just heavy allusions to what's happened. But then they
Yeah.
mention Joseph Mengele by name. So it's like, but what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, moving on from that, Tetris Effect Connected is going to be on the Switch, which is a really good fit. I mean, it's probably the best version of Tetris ever made from a single player standpoint. In terms of a broad appeal version of Tetris, it's probably like the coolest. It is a good version of Tetris, and it's a good experience.
Tetris Effect was the version
the
made by the
Mizuguchi
Res
one.
guy?
Yeah, the Mizuguchi one.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the one made by it used to be called Q Games, but now there's something else. They're called something else now. But the same company that makes Luminous and Res, all those games. Yeah. So it is the coolest version of Tetris. I mean, the only other one that there are a lot of good versions of Tetris. There's like Tetris DS. That's like a really good version of Tetris, but that's like Nintendo themed. There's the hardcore Arico ones, like the Tetris. What are those called? The Grandmaster games.
Yeah, those things are no joke.
Those are just like hardcore, like Masocore, but like this is straight up like this. If you're gonna play this and vibe it. And it's going to be great, and you're going to get into it even if you're just a casual fan of Tetris. Tetris Effect Connected is like the updated version with multiplayer in it. So, and that's always a good fit for a Nintendo system, having a multiplayer Tetris. So, I'm excited for that. Also, this one was really interesting. So I'm just gonna like name my top ones up front here. But Metal Slug Tactics. Did you hear about this?
I did not.
So they're basically doing like a Final Fantasy Tactics-esque game, but with like Metal Slug sprites. And it's like a brand new game with like lovingly crafted like pixel art, which is really neat. It's not just like recycled garbage like a lot of the mobile games out there that they've made in the past. So this is made by .emu with under license with SNK. So it's like a brand new game with new assets and stuff. So it looks like a lot of fun. I'm not a big tactics fan, tactical RPG fan, but I don't know. Like this just has this Metal Slug just has so much goddamn charm. It might sway me. Also, I'm a big SNK fan, so. Also, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon got rescued from Apple Arcade, which is pretty cool. So this is the Shovel Knight puzzle game that was on Apple Arcade, like I said. This is like one of the few games that like hasn't been ported over from them that I really wanted to play. So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, the Switch is a perfect home for any puzzle game, and Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon fits perfectly there. Also, a new Devolver Digital game, and Devolver Digital games are almost always worth their time. There's very few clunkers that they put out. I think the biggest disappointment in recent memory is probably like Serious Sam 4. But like everything else that they put out, like that, especially like their 2D games, are all like fucking gold.
Even their like intentionally stupid demake games were surprisingly fun. Like we played that, like the not Ape Out. What was that? Like Enter the Gun Dungeon.
Yeah, Under the Gun Dungeon. There was a Gato Roboto Castlevania game.
Yeah, and Hotline Milwaukee,
which was actually good.
Yeah, it was surprisingly good.
Yeah, like all of it was good. Like Enter the Gun Dungeon. The best thing about that was the name.
Yeah,
like that one got repetitive, but Ape Out Jr. was actually really fun.
Yeah, I actually liked that. Kong Jr.
Yeah, I liked Ape Out Jr.
Played
I thought that was
Ape
good.
Out, but that's okay.
We played through the whole thing, I think. We
might have, and we certainly beat Hotline Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, that was a good day. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, their new game is called Loop Hero, and apparently what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to craft like dungeons for playable characters that are in this world. So you're basically like the dungeon master of the world that you're creating, and you're supposed to create good dungeon experiences for the challenging but like not like kill them kind of experiences, fulfilling experiences for playable characters. It's kind of reminds me of Holy Invasion of Privacy Badman, but like or Trapped, but you're not trying to kill them. You're trying to craft something that they have fulfillment out of. So that's a little bit different. You have to balance it, and it might have the most gorgeous pixel art of anything I've seen in a while. Like the character art is pixelated, but it is like fucking detailed. It is really nice. It looks like a mono art almost, but in pixelated form, which is really neat. I haven't seen anything quite like it. So I really wanted to get a shout out to that. There's also Far Changing Tides, which is a sequel to a game that called Far, which is a puzzle platformer. That looked like a lot of fun, almost like a cinematic storytelling kind of thing. Necro Barista, which is getting a updated version, which is a visual novel about people that visit a tavern in between life and death. When they die, they get one last drink before they move on.
Huh.
So that's pretty cool. There's a game called Eastward that looked really cool. That looked like it had a lot of charm, almost like an Earthboundy kind of thing. There was Toem, which was a picture, like an indie picture taking game, which looked really neat. It was black and white and really stylized, and it looked like a lot of fun. There was Boyfriend Dungeon, which Nintendo is actually like leaning a little bit into their dating stuff. For anybody who isn't paying attention to Nintendo's eShop, it is flooded with like semi-pervy dating games, like a lot of them. Like there are a lot of them in there. Like they're none of them are M-rated or have any nudity, but they're all like date this busty lady, panty shot.
I've seen Game Grumps play a few of them where like they're just like terrible translations that are just kind of thrown onto the eShop.
Yeah, they're like panty shot the game. Like it's real like lowest common denominator stuff, and it's like not even well written or anything. So it's like the kind of people, they know who their audience is. It's definitely ugu like waifu people. But I mean, if that's your jam, that's your jam. But this is Boyfriend Dungeon is substantially like better than that. I would say it's like a visual novel, but like also like a dungeon crawling experience where your weapons are like boyfriend material, kind of like Xenoblade, but like the inverse, right? Like right. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had the whole like sword waifu aspect. This is the boyfriendo. swords kind of aspect. So, hey, if this is your thing, it looks good. It looks like a high quality indie game. So, and maybe it's something for you. I might even like playing it. It looks like fun. Anyway, and a game called Garden Story, which is like an adventure game / like make your own garden kind of thing. So it's like almost kind of like a almost like a Harvest Moon-y kind of thing, but like more focus on like flowers and stuff like that rather than crops. But also has like an adventure mode. So that's basically the conclusion of the Indie World Showcase. Anything that you wanted to comment here, Lotus, other than what you said?
Not particularly, because I didn't watch the showcase, so the only games that I have a chance of talking about would be Bomb Rush and Axiom Verge, because
they're going to be multi-platform eventually.
I've heard of and seen little bits of Jet Set Radio and Axiom Verge 1.
Yeah.
There we go.
Fair. That's fair. I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff here, though. A lot of people are saying this might be one of the best Indie World showcases, and I can see why. There's just some really good stuff here. Moving on from that, Einen, which has like all of a sudden kind of been like become like the really cool like indie publisher that will put stuff on shelves. Like they're not like a limited brand. They're like like an actual like indie publisher to get like people on shelves, like buy from Amazon, that kind of thing. Like they put out some like pretty cool stuff lately. And they are putting out Space Invaders Invincible collection, which I could have sworn was never going to come over, because we got a different Space Invaders collection that was inferior like a while ago, and it was called Space Invaders Forever, and I thought that was going to be it. But yeah, Space Invaders Invincible collection is getting a digital release in the West now, so that's really cool. Previously you would have to like buy it off of, I think, the Japanese eShop, but it did have English language support. So, but I think this is a great collection. I bought the one put out by Super Limited Games, I think, is the one that put this one out, and I really
super
enjoyed it.
Rare and they're strictly limited.
So I conflated the two, huh?
And there's 100 more anyway.
Strictly Limited.
Strictly Limited is the one in Germany, and Super Rare is Switch only.
Okay, so I think it was Strictly Limited.
Okay.
That released this one. Yeah, no, this is the one with the little pixelated head guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like their releases, but they tend to be a little on the expensive side. That's my only gripe with them.
They tend to have to be fair, they also have standard editions, but they're big on their collector's editions. Plus, you got to pay for shipping from Germany.
Yeah, I mean, I am not criticizing the package they put together. Everything's very attractive and has everything I could want. Plus, they put out a lot of games that wouldn't have a chance otherwise. But this one happened to, now I have the the German release, I guess, and not the US one, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm glad that people have access to it, you know what I mean? So, and this was a really good collection. There's some really good stuff in this collection. Let me see. It has Space Invaders, black and white, the color version, and they included all the color versions that you could have. So, Space Invaders had a number of ways that it had color, but the original way was they put like, green, like a green area of the screen, like it was like a plastic sheet over.
Oh, sure.
Like cellophane sheet over, kind of like the overlays for the Vectrex, like just to give it some color. But there was later on color screens as well. This was put together by M2, by the way, so they, of course they did everything in their power to give you like all the different versions all over the world. Space Invaders Part 2, Space Invaders Part 4. I don't know what Part 3 would be. I don't know. Space Invaders 91. Space Invaders Extreme, which is an amazing game, by the way. Space Invaders Gigamax 4 SE. That's the one that I told you about that is widescreen Space Invaders with 4 people playing. That's a lot of fun. Arkanoid versus Space Invaders, which is a port of a mobile game, actually. Space Invaders DX, and Space Cyclone and Lunar Rescue, which are not Space Invaders games, but like came out around the same time. So, yeah, really good collection. Right up there with Taito's other collections that have been out there recently, like the Darius collections. So I'm excited about that. Moving on. What else we got? Oh, I'll let you talk about this because I was a little confused about it, but then I got into it.
Yeah, this was my absolute favorite. I don't know if it's still like this, but if you were to go to the Kirby website, I believe it's new or recently changed. But if you go onto it, the stuff that's there is like there are links you can click, but the stuff is in lorem ipsum. And if you don't know what lorem ipsum is, it's just like...
It's like Pig Latin, almost.
Well, no, Pig Latin you can understand. Lorem ipsum is just random words put together to be like... to take up space, to be like, there should be text here.
Oh,
so it doesn't actually mean anything, it's just
it doesn't have a translation.
What was really funny, though, is one of the links you could click took you to, like, another page, but the filler there was just the opening to Kafka's Metamorphosis.
Yeah,
so it's like Gregor Samsa, I think? Gregor Samsa awoke one day in bed and discovered that he had a carapace of a bug. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's the weirdest thing. It's just placeholder text, but it's just very funny.
It's very odd for like a Nintendo thing to be like that because they're so controlling of their presentation and what they do. This seems like a mistake. Maybe it wasn't, but it seems like one.
Well, what was a mistake, I think, was making this publicly viewable.
Yeah,
no
that's what I mean.
This lorem ipsum and Metamorphosis placeholder text. It's so bizarre.
All with like the art assets of the Kirby collection from the Wii.
That's also
odd.
Bizarre. I didn't even pick up on that. That's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, like the 20th anniversary of Kirby, like way back when, or whatever it was when they released that collection.
Yeah.
Well, moving on from this is another one of yours, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, King of Fighters has this is the newest character they've brought back that's from an older game, Antonov. I'm not as familiar with the lore, but I think he might have been the final boss of King of Fighters 14. He was the guy who was always chomping on this gigantic cigar, and if you look at his giant belts that he wears, he's got like a champion's belt. He like opens up the buckle, pulls out an additional cigar, smokes that. It's amazing. And he's back with like a sick like lion's mane beard. Like he just looks freaking sick. And so yeah, this guy's back, and he's a powerhouse, and he's on the same team as Ramon, the what do you call him? The luchador, I guess, the guy with like the Mexican wrestler, and oh no, I forgot his real name, but the guy who always says Justice Hurricane, Tizak, the guy who's now the king of the dinosaurs. So Antonov's with those guys, so like watch out for that team. What was funny was
it's just the muscle bomber team, basically.
Yeah, well, Ramon is like he's like the fast, agile guy of the team, but Antonov and Tizak, like
the cruiserweight, if you will. The cruiserweight, if you will.
Either of them was a nightmare. But so I saw someone in the comment section point out that Antonov is probably the only person who has hosted the King of Fighters tournament who didn't have some shady ulterior motive. Like, I will use this tournament to be able to... Like, Rugel's motivation in the first game was stupid and pointless. Like, I'll turn these fighters into statues in my collection. Like, what? But Antonov just, like, wants a good fight. He's a really good fighter, and he's like, I want a good fight. Like, he's the only guy to host the tournament who just, like, legitimately is doing it to host the tournament.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Is he the last announcement, or is that continuing on, or am I conflating that with Street Fighter?
Well, Street Fighter definitely had the last announcement. That was Luke last week.
Luke was cool. I really like that one.
Yeah. Again, the design is like okay, but like he looked like his moves looked amazing.
His moveset was just cool.
Antonov, I don't know if King of Fighters had like a last.
I think they still have a lot to go. Actually,
because they've only announced like recurring characters, and there's been a bunch of announcements, but so like there's got to be more because King of Fighters' whole thing is this giant ass roster, and we've had like how many fighters do we know about now? Like 15 or something.
Yeah,
like that's decent for like the first game in a series. Like Mortal Kombat only had like 7 or something, but like King of Fighters is huge.
Yeah, I was gonna say these days you need to have a big cast if you're gonna be like a returning.
Even look at Guilty Gear Strive. Like
one.
It has a pared down cast from what it used to, but it's still pretty sizable.
Yeah, I don't think you could get away with
I forgot to I totally forgot to mention this. Guilty Gear Strive actually just had a new announcement for a new recurring character. Someone who wears like a pumpkin mask over her face, but otherwise she's like a cute girl. She's called Jacko for Jack-O-Lantern. Cool. But Guilty Gear always does the musical references with its characters and their names.
Of course, that's Michael Jackson.
Is going to be Michael Jackson, which is kind of funny because there's a different character whose name I don't remember, but his look was very smooth criminal Michael Jackson.
I was going to say Smooth Criminal or like a number of his other stuff. I
forgot his name, but now we have Jacko.
That's funny, and that especially considering that's like a derogatory term for Michael Jackson. So like it's kind of funny
in
that
this
they
case
picked
Jack-O-Lantern. I don't know, but they have all sorts of musical even the main character Soul Bad Guy, like Freddie Mercury had a thing like Mr. Bad Guy, from Queen. We got Zappa. Zappa's not in Strive or anything, but Zappa's named after Frank Zappa. It's like JoJo stands, except they're fighting game characters.
Yeah, I always thought Kai was the main character, and I guess like
Soul and Kai, but like I think it's a little more Soul, but Kai is
it is more Soul now. Do you remember the time that RoboKai was the main character?
Yeah, what was that? Izuka,
yeah.
You know so what's scary was an accent core when you see Order Soul, because Soul used to be a member of the Holy Order. Man, that guy did not play.
I never understood the lore of that series.
I think Strive
it's so
gives
fucking
you a
confusing.
whole like web and flowchart that goes into character relationships and stuff, which is great because I think you had to read like Japanese only like books.
They don't explain it well in the games.
Yeah, I think Strive goes into that more. So that's like if like not even in story mode, but like in flowchart mode. So like at this point, I think you can figure it out, but it's still a lot.
Yeah, and like they even had like a lot of people forget about this. They had a whole like 3D action game called Guilty Gear 2 that
that was what 360.
Yeah, that was on the 360. That also had like tower defense elements. It was a really weird game.
Yeah,
it was bizarre. I don't recommend it. Moving on from that. So I mean, this is predictable, but cool. Sonic and Tails are in Super Monkey Ball. Banana.
Yeah, wasn't Sonic already seemed to be in there? Like I guess they're adding Tails as well.
Yeah. That a lot of people are rooting for like an SD version of Kiryu, which would be kind of funny. But
I could see that.
Yeah. But like somebody did a mock-up and like people have been passing around and it says like Kiryu and Monkey Ball, you cowards.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of funny. And this is really funny. So do you know what Castlevania Grimoire of Souls is?
I'm not 100% sure because the name Grimoire of Souls sounds like it could have been any number of things I've heard of. So many things are called stuff like that, so I'm not sure. Was this that one game that was like... Oof, I might be way off on this one. But was this the game that people didn't really care about that was digital only, that was like 4-player or something?
No, that is close. That is Harmony of Despair.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. I got the of right. You gotta give me that.
Yeah, no, you are kind of close in its importance. So I think this is the last Metroidvania by Konami. But it was a mobile game.
Okay.
But it is a Metroidvania. So like a lot of people, and I think it was Apple only. So like it was so specific that like so many people didn't. I don't have a way to play it. So like, and it was delisted like a couple of years ago, I think. So like there was like no way to play it. And apparently it's not very good, which is no no surprise. But apparently Apple is looking back to bring back some like fan favorite games that got delisted or no longer work with current OSs.
I appreciate that.
And this was part of that program apparently. So they've done it with a few games that like people were like, hey, you really, this was a really good quality game. You should bring it back, and they've done it for the most part.
They should bring out those two Silent Hill Apple phone games.
I think the big ones that people are clamoring for, and honestly, it's there's a good for good reason is the Infinity Blade games. Which were put out by Chair before they became part of Epic, and they're the people who made Shadow Complex. You know sure. Shadow Complex, right?
Yeah, Shadow Complex was that.
It's Metroidvania.
Yeah, was that Epic exclusive at first?
No, it was a 360 live. Xbox 360 live game like one of those Summer of Arcade games back in the day, but then eventually it became like the PC version was Epic only. It was like one of the first things that they did to get people to sign up for it.
Gotcha. And it was the first limited run game I got that was not their first title, but it was a very early one.
Yeah, it was also well known for not working on the PS5 for a brief amount of time.
Yeah, the game that was ported to everything would not be compatible with the PS5. That was what?
But yeah, Infinity Blade was, if you can imagine it, basically it's Punch-Out, but it's Dark Souls.
Okay.
It has like a Dark Souls veneer, and it also has like a roguelite kind of conceit. Like you keep coming back as the next generation of heroes to try to beat the gauntlet. But yeah, you face off against a unique boss, and it is done via swiping certain ways on the screen and doing certain things, and it's all timing based. And it was a lot of fun, and each successive one got more and more complicated. Like they added like RPG elements and things like that to it. And it was really good, and those games are great, but they were mobile only, and they got delisted, and eventually, like, even if you owned it, like, and you had upgraded your firmware, like, you just couldn't play them anymore. They weren't compatible, and Apple has like a really big problem with that. It's still a problem on Android, but to a much lesser extent. Their backwards compatibility is a lot better. But yeah, it's pretty crazy how that ended up. But yeah, people have been clamoring for that. It's just like these were good single player games that weren't like like pay to win. Didn't gouge you. Yeah. You just bought them for $15 and they left you alone, which was pretty cool. They even came out with an arcade version that you could see in like a Round 1 or like a Dave & Buster's, which is pretty cool. But it never went to anything else. It would feel right at home on the Switch, though. I hope one of these days they do like a collection or something. But they're part of Epic, and I doubt Epic really cares about it. Which is I guess all well and good. They have Fortnite, so why would they care about this? But still. Also, this was really surprising. So. If you had been following Hardcore Gaming 101 for a long time and his Castlevania website, Kurt Carlotta's Castlevania website, which is kind of a sister to HG 101, it's called the Castlevania Dungeon. And also, if you had gotten the Hardcore Gaming 101 like Castlevania book, which is excellent, by the way, there had been screenshots of different backgrounds and different parts of levels in Castlevania Bloodlines that had never that had gotten removed from the final product of the game. one including like a Zeppelin in the background, and a couple other really interesting, cool-looking backgrounds that people were like, "Oh man, I want to see that." And they had leaked. Apparently, the only evidence that we had of these backgrounds was pictures of that, like screen captures that the person who originally owned that prototype had put on eBay and sold in a private auction like a while ago. So like people had to like archive the screenshots that were used to sell it.
Jeez.
But that was the only evidence. Like nobody had ever come forward with it or shown it off publicly or even gone to a convention with it and played it. So there was no like video evidence or anything. Recently it got a public release. So like if you follow the ROM scene, you can play it now.
That's pretty rad.
There is like the original like buggy as hell beta version of it that is just interesting but might not, the collision detection's not perfect or whatever, or geometry's not quite right, but somebody went through it and made a fixed version so it's like basically playable, and that's really cool. So if you want to play like a Bizarro World version of Castlevania Bloodlines that is slightly different than the way it came out before, I think this is pretty neat. Castlevania Bloodlines is like one of my low-key favorite like Zelda or Castlevania games. It just has some of the best music in the entire series. It's very underrated. It's up there with my favorites. I'm not going to be as pedantic and say, oh, this is better than Dracula X, because it nothing is. In terms of the classic Castlevanias, like that is it. But it's up there. It is like a pleasure to play, and it's kind of a weird Castlevania, but I like it for its weirdness. Like everything looks kind of off model, but in a cool way. Moving on from that, Terra Onion, the makers of the Mega SD and also the Super System SD for the the TurboGrafx, and they also make the Neo SD. They have come out and said basically they are trying to get fan support to get attention from Watermelon Games to basically tell them that they have a way of like locking like digital versions of games to Mega SD. So basically playing like an encrypted version, and they want to see if they could try to partner with them in order to sell like digital, like DRM'd versions of Mega SD or of Paprium. So they've been trying to get into contact with them, saying, "Hey, no, you if you sell the ROM, but tie it to a specific person, we have solutions to allow them to play this, so it doesn't get cracked and put on the internet."
Yeah, I really don't know why, as much as the Paprium dev needs money, he seems to hate money.
Yeah, he seems to be a very eccentric person, and is only comfortable with making money in the way he sees it.
Yeah, like he's very rightfully bitter about having been financially screwed out of something, but like he's not trying to sell his fucking game.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's a very odd person, to put it lightly, to the point where he has very extreme views on things. And like he's doing it despite himself. I mean, like he put out a really, really cool product that only very few people can play. And it was an imperfect release on top of that. And
yeah,
like as much as I thought all of it was cool, it was overproduced. Like the production value was
the packaging is
way
cool,
too
but, like so unnecessary.
way too opulent, and also like not very functional. Like the limited edition case, I would have been more happy with a classic style like clamshell. Yeah, exactly. I would have. They put this heat sink in there that can fucking damage the cart just from rattling around. You'd be better just ripping it out. Like it's just very, very weird. And also you could be putting this on Steam. Like this game. it doesn't need to be on Genesis. It doesn't. I mean, you had Xenocrisis, which was a fantastic game, and they put it on everything.
And in fact, it plays on better on almost everything because it's a twin stick game.
Yeah. In fact, I hate playing it on the Genesis. I tried, and that's supposed to be the native version of the game. I can't play it with the controller. It just doesn't work. The dual stick controls on the Switch are it for me, or whatever you want to play it on. But yeah, I mean, just sell it, man. Like, I don't like, people like this. I think he's just very burnt out and afraid, which is a bad thing to be. Especially when you work so hard on something, and you had a whole team that worked on it, on something so hard. You want to see the fruits of those labors. It's very odd, but this looks like a good solution. I mean, Mega SD is a good product, and if they're giving you a solution to put it, on here in a way that would appeal to you, why not? So anyway. I just threw this in there because it's kind of funny. But Idris Elba has been casted officially as Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of amusing. Do you think he's going to have funky beats whenever he shows up with rapping about how he's searching for emeralds and gems?
Well, Twitter went wild with this, and kind of justifiably so. They, having a black... a black actor play him is actually very fitting, because fans have stated that Knuckles has been coded black pretty much since his inception. He is not obviously a black human being, but
he is a red echidna.
He is a red echidna, but his mannerisms, the way he is presented, and also his hair is very black coded. His hair and all echidnas have been they're presented as basically having dreadlocks. So their spines are treated as dreadlocks. So I completely agree. I've been I don't talk about this a lot, but I was a gigantic Sonic fan before it was like a weird thing.
Yeah, I was a Sonic fan from maybe I dabbled in Sonic 1, but let's say I was a fan from 2 to Sonic Adventure 2, and then the later Sonic games like Secret Rings just didn't really interest me, so I was like, but by that time that's when the DeviantArt stuff had gone off the charts.
My favorite comic book growing up was the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book. I had a subscription to it. It was sent to my house every month. I got every single special that ever existed. I even got the original miniseries, all the miniseries. I had nearly every issue, which was very difficult to find because many comic book stores at the time did not stock back issues of Sonic the Hedgehog because it was an Archie comic, and Archie comics are they thumb their nose at them, at comic book stores. Maybe not these days, but back then they did. They see them, they don't see them as the same thing as your Batman comics, which is really stupid. They're comics. But anyway, so it was very hard to collect them, because they were in short supply. Primarily young children bought them, so a lot of them, got messed up. Issues of them got messed up. So I had a full collection of Sonic comics, nearly full collection of Sonic comics for a long period of my life. And I also had a subscription to the Knuckles series, which ran concurrently with it. So I had the entire, universe on lockdown for a good portion of my life, maybe 5 or 6 years. And I was all about it. And, when you're a little kid, 5 or 6 years, it's like forever. They are spot on. So if you think that, it's weird that people are associating, certain character traits with that never existed with a certain character, you're just wrong. You don't know the character as well as a lot of other people do. It's kind of like the controversy with like Robin coming out as bi recently.
Oh yeah,
Tim Drake,
like a little
Robin.
Facebook meme about that, where it's like people who've been comic fans for decades. It's like, yeah, okay, finally, there it is.
Well, Tim Drake has always kind of flirted with Connor Kent, who's Superboy. Like he's always been kind of like a closeted bi person. So it fits the character. So like a lot of people are like that are longtime fans are like, yeah, this is perfect. Like this is he's not coming out as gay, he's coming out as bi. So like he's staying true to the fact that he's had significant female relationships, and he also likes men. So get off of it. Like, and of course the people that are anti-woke, of course, came out, and it's
I'm
no,
so
you don't
angry
even
about
know
this
this character.
I've heard the name of, but haven't actually followed. So I don't know what I'm talking about, but it makes me mad anyway.
Yeah, and I heard an argument recently that said, hey, if you're gonna make a gay character in comics, just make a new one, right? And don't mess with a character that's existed. And the argument was like, what do you like in real life? Like, people that come out as gay. Like, the people that you have known forever come out as gay. So this can happen.
Not to mention, the reason they haven't yet is because of pricks like you who would give
social
crap
pressure
to things like that.
Yeah, social pressure. So, the character could have just been closeted because of, the social pressure surrounding, especially male bi people hardly ever have representation in very few things. So if there's bi representation, it's usually a female character. So it's this is good. This is and it's a character that fits it. So it's not out of left field. We also have another prominent male bi character in comics. I don't know if you knew this, but Miles Morales is bi as well.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know much about him. I saw Into the Spider-Verse, but that was more about him being
he's
Spider-Man and for a total of 30 minutes.
Yeah, and his love interest in that is Spider-Gwen, but
Yeah, exactly. And in the PS4 game, he's kid who just learned he has spider powers. But it's the same thing.
He's been presented in the movie and as kind of a young kid. It's still pretty young for that. I guess it isn't young for some people, but yeah. Anyway, and I just a quick R.I.P. An unfortunate message here of Pat Hitchcock. Do you know Pat Hitchcock?
I do not believe I recognize the name.
Okay, so Pat Hitchcock is Alfred Hitchcock's daughter. So,
okay.
But she is most prominently she was used in a bunch of his movies, which you could probably guess.
Yeah.
But actually, my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie, Strangers on a Train. She is she is like the MacGuffin, or not the MacGuffin, but like the inciting event. Okay. Let's say in the movie. So it is really a big shame. She played the character really well. She played a flawed but also sympathetic character in some way. She plays like the estranged wife of one of the main character of Strangers on a Train, who I'm just gonna outright say it because it's not really a spoiler because it's the inciting event of the movie. So the whole movie is about how two strangers meet up on a train. One of them is a famous tennis player. The other person is like a fan, or like says he is. Basically, the tabloids have been following around the tennis player, saying that his estranged wife is going around like seeing other people, which she was. But like it was all up in the news, and that was like a scandalous thing. and the other guy comes up to him and says, "Hey, I have an idea that would solve our both of our problems. I have a mother that I hate." and he goes, "What if I just you kill my mom and I kill your wife, and
So
both of our
fucked up.
problems." Both of our problems will be resolved, and we neither of us have a motivation, and like crisscross, and the main character goes, "Yeah, sure, you're nuts," but like goes, "Yeah, sure," like in a sarcastic way, and the guy just takes him up on it, and kills his wife, who was Pat Hitchcock. So, the entire rest of the movie is about how the guy is basically stalking him and be like, kill my mom.
That's so fucked.
I'm gonna ruin your life if you don't kill my mom. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do everything I can to get you to kill my mom. And
What a concept.
it is. That's why I like it. Nobody ever talks about it. It's like it's legitimately terrifying. Like I could see that being a real thing that happened. It's fucking bizarre. But yeah, it's an awesome movie. You should see it. It's one of his most suspenseful thrillers. I really, really love it. And that's all I have, Lotus. How about you?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, that is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to Corrective Consciousness, the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. We're going to go over games that utilize gimmicky accessories, just kind of like a cool overview of stuff that we remember like that. And finally, you can friend me as Vise the Bold on pretty much anything. Just give me a heads up.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Well, that's just prime. We'll catch everybody soon then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.